Meanwhile, a Spokane City Council candidate faces a lawsuit just 1 week before Election Day. The suit alleges Alejandro Barrientos does not live in the district he's running for. This is a photo of him from his Instagram account for his campaign. To better understand the controversy, we are joined now by the reporter who broke this story, Erin Sellers. Thanks for being here, Erin.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
All right, so let's get into this. When did you first learn about this lawsuit?
Well, I got a tip on Friday that I might need to take a look at his divorce documents, and then broke the story as soon as I could. And then yesterday, just got an email from a lawyer that said, "Hey, I'm taking this on. I think that this needs to be a case," which I thought was kind of surprising to do it so late as opposed to doing it after the votes. But yeah, I found out pretty recently.
And you said divorce here for our viewers just now joining us that don't have the background on this. This is about his marital life, right?
Right, which normally I feel a little bit bad poking around in as a reporter, but I just got a tip that some divorce documents that are publicly available online had a different address listed that was not in the district that he was running in. So I had to follow up on that.
And his wife is still living in that district, though, so there's the disconnect, right? Can we get into more of the specific allegations against Barrientos?
Yeah, so, it's complicated, and something that he kept telling me was, your marital life is very complex. When they filed for divorce, they told the courts that they were going to be living separately in separate households. She was going to keep the house in District 2, where Barrientos, a year later, would file to run as a candidate. And he didn't put on the paperwork where he would be living, but he had property that was downtown in District 1 and a house or property out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And folks told me that they heard him saying that he had recently lived downtown, and he did have a condo address down there and had told the courts that he was not living in District 2. So I think it's fairly complicated. I have a lot of empathy for the guy. I don't even know where the court is going to fall on this. I can't really make a prediction about that, but I thought that it was relevant info for voters to know that if the court weighed in on this and found that him maybe not living in the district or bouncing around residences during his divorce would disqualify him as a candidate, that means that all of those votes cast for him just simply wouldn't count, and that is something that voters deserve to know.
Yeah, certainly speaking to the impact there. Okay, have you seen anything like this working and covering stories in Eastern Washington in terms of races?
This is the first time since I've been on the City Hall beat, but I have been told that what I found was that in I want to say it was 2019 or 2021, a candidate in that same district had a similar situation where they were disqualified from running for office because the courts found that they didn't have residency in that district. However, that case was a lot more cut and dry because they had posted on their social media that they were excited to be back visiting Spokane in that 1-year residency requirement. And so it was pretty cut and dry that they didn't consider themselves living in Spokane when they're posting like, "Oh, I'm so glad to be back visiting." And so that one was a lot more cut and dry than this. And then there was another case from the mid-2010s where a candidate was disqualified for not quite meeting that year residence, and that one was even more cut and dry. He marked his residence as a property that did not have running water and was not deemed habitable by the city.
Wow.
So
yeah, those seem like far cries.
Gray area.
Yeah, that seems definitely so different than the situation that's a lot more murky that you are covering here. Well, thank you for doing the work for us, journalists out there. Appreciate your time. Now, we are learning the lawsuit. It will be retracted and filed under another statute. And in a statement to Washington News Wrap, the attorney for Barrientos says, quote, "This last-minute lawsuit was a frivolous and politically motivated attack. It is explicitly prohibited by the very state law cited in the complaint itself, which is why counsel was forced to tell us moments ago that he is dismissing the case. The city council election is in the hands of voters of Spokane, where it belongs."